Shalom, my friend. A question for you as we begin our time together. Does the world shape your words, or do your words shape your world? King Solomon, the wisest man to walk the earth, the builder of the temple and a master of human nature, taught a profound truth that our modern world has only just begun to rediscover. He understood that words are not mere descriptions of reality, they are the very architects of it. In the beginning, the world itself was brought into being through speech. Let there be light, the Creator said, and there was light. This is not just a poetic story, it is the fundamental blueprint of existence. Our own speech, our own words, carry a spark of that same divine, creative power. I have spent a lifetime building businesses, navigating the turbulent waters of the market, and learning the hard lessons of wealth and poverty. I have seen fortunes made with a confident word and lost with a careless one. In my youth, I believed success was a matter of force, of relentless ambition. I chased numbers, acquisitions, and the validation of others. My language was that of scarcity and competition. But the more I acquired, the more hollow I felt. It was only when I turned inward, to the deep well of my heritage, to the rationalism of Maimonides, the ethical fire of Musar, the profound depths of Kabbalah, that I understood the truth. The world I was experiencing was a direct reflection of the world I was speaking into existence. The anxieties, the pressures, the emptiness, I was creating them with my own tongue. Today, modern science is catching up to this ancient wisdom. Neuro-linguistic programming and psychology speak of self-talk and its power to shape our neural pathways. They have proven that the language we use internally and externally has a measurable effect on our health, our confidence, and yes, our financial reality. But this is not a new discovery, it is an ancient secret. The sages have always taught that the mouth is a powerful gate. What flows out of it determines what can flow into your life. So today, I want to walk with you through 5 phrases of scarcity, 5 declarations of lack, that the wise King Solomon would never utter. These are the chains we forge for ourselves, word by word, and by learning to avoid them, we begin the sacred work of unlocking true abundance of wealth that is not just in our pockets, but in our souls. Are you merely describing your circumstances, or are you decreeing your future with every word you speak? The first phrase, and perhaps the most common poison we feed ourselves, is the simple, devastating declaration, "I'm broke," or "I'm so poor." How many times have we let this escape our lips, perhaps as a casual complaint, a way to deflect a request, or a simple statement of fact? But to the ear of the universe, there is no difference between a casual remark and a divine incantation. Proverbs 18:21 teaches us, "Mavet vikayim b'yad lashon," death and life are in the power of the tongue. When you say "I'm broke," you are not just describing a temporary lack of funds, you are speaking a state of brokenness into your very being. You are aligning your entire spiritual and material self with the energy of lack. I remember a young man who came to me for guidance many years ago. He was brilliant, full of ideas for a new software company, but he was trapped. "Solomon," he would tell me week after week, "I can't get started. I'm just broke. I have no capital." His shoulders would slump, his voice would lose its energy, and the very air around him felt heavy. He was a prisoner of that single word, broke. I listened, and then I shared with him a story about my own grandfather, who came to this country with nothing but the clothes on his back and a few Yiddish phrases. He never would have described himself as broke. He would say, "Today, my pockets are light, so my mind must be heavy with thought," or "The cash is resting, so my hands must be working." He understood that his financial situation was a temporary condition, not a permanent identity. The Hebrew word for wealth is asher. Interestingly, the root of this word is connected to the word for to walk straight or to be on the right path. True wealth, our tradition teaches, is a consequence of being in right alignment. It is not just about the money in your account, it is about the flow of divine blessing through your life. When you declare "I am broke," you are essentially building a dam in that river of flow. You are telling the universe that you are a broken vessel, incapable of receiving. So, here is the practical shift. Instead of saying "I'm broke," try a different language. You could say, "My cash flow is tight at the moment," or "I am currently allocating my resources elsewhere." These phrases describe a situation, not an identity. They are statements of fact, not declarations of being. They keep the door open for opportunity. The young man I mentored, he took this to heart. He stopped calling himself broke and started calling himself pre-capitalized. It was a small shift in language, but it changed his entire energy. He began to speak of his project with life, not death. He attracted partners, found creative funding, and today, his company is a testament to the power of a sanctified tongue. I ask you to reflect on this when you speak about your finances. Are you using the language of death or the language of life? Are you describing a temporary weather pattern, or are you defining your entire climate? The second phrase is a far deeper, more corrosive poison. It is the sigh of the soul that has lost its way. Life is meaningless. This is the language of despair, the ultimate expression of spiritual scarcity. It is a sentiment that King Solomon himself, in his persona as Kohelet, the author of Ecclesiastes, wrestled with profoundly. He looked at the world from a purely material perspective and saw the endless cycles of toil and futility. Havel Hevelim, he wrote, vanity of vanities, all is vanity. He saw that the sun rises and sets, that generations come and go, and that from a purely earthly viewpoint, nothing seems to last. Many people stop there. They take this cynical observation as the final word and conclude that existence is a cosmic joke. But that is not where Solomon ends his inquiry. His wrestling with meaninglessness is not a conclusion, it is a journey. It is the process of stripping away all the false meanings we attach to life, the pursuit of pleasure, the accumulation of wealth, even the attainment of wisdom for its own sake to arrive at a deeper truth. His final conclusion in the book is not despair. It is the end of the matter, all having been heard, fear God, and keep his commandments, for this is the whole of man. Meaning, he discovers, is not something you find out in the world like a treasure chest. It is something you create through your actions, day by day, moment by moment. This is the essence of the Jewish concept of mitzvot, the commandments. They are not simply rules to be followed, they are opportunities to imbue the most mundane activities with sacred purpose. Washing your hands becomes a moment of purification. Giving a small portion of your income to charity, tzedakah, becomes an act of cosmic repair, tikkun olam. Speaking a kind word becomes a participation in the creative power of God. I once worked with a hedge fund manager, a man who had reached the pinnacle of financial success. He had multiple homes, a private jet, a life of unimaginable luxury. Yet, he came to me in a state of deep, quiet desperation. Solomon, he confessed, it's all meaningless. The thrill is gone. I win, I lose, the numbers change, but I feel nothing. It's just a game with no point. He was Kohelet in a skyscraper. My advice to him was not financial. I told him to spend 1 hour every Tuesday morning volunteering at a local soup kitchen, not to write a check, but to show up, to look another human being in the eye, to serve them a plate of food, to listen to their story. He resisted at first. It felt small, inefficient, but he did it. After a month, he came back to me, and for the first time, I saw a light in his eyes. It's the strangest thing, he said. For that 1 hour, my life has more meaning than in all the other hours combined. He didn't find meaning, he created it by performing an act of service, a mitzvah. The antidote to life is meaningless is not a grand philosophical argument. It is a small, purposeful action. So, here's the practical application. Identify one area of your daily routine that feels empty or automatic. It could be your morning coffee, your commute to work, the way you greet your family. Now, find one small way to infuse it with intention and blessing. Before you sip your coffee, take a moment of gratitude for the warmth and the quiet. During your commute, listen to something that nourishes your soul instead of agitating it. When you see your loved ones, offer a genuine word of appreciation. Are you waiting for meaning to appear, or are you actively creating it with your hands, your heart, and your words? Let us move to the third phrase, one that shuts the door to possibility with a resounding slam. I can't afford it. This statement seems so practical, so responsible, and at times, it is a necessary recognition of our current financial boundaries. But said habitually, it becomes a mantra of limitation. It trains the mind to see only obstacles, not opportunities. It is the language of a fixed mindset, one that believes resources are finite, and our situation is static. Jewish wisdom, however, is built on a foundation of gratitude and resourcefulness. It encourages an expansive mindset, one that trusts in a benevolent source of all abundance. The alternative is not to live in denial or spend recklessly. The alternative is to transform the statement into a question. Instead of declaring, "I can't afford it," the wise mind asks, "How can I afford it?" Or "How can I create the value or the resources necessary for this opportunity?" This simple shift, from a period to a question mark, is the difference between a closed gate and an open road. It engages your creative faculties, your chakma wisdom, and turns you from a passive victim of circumstance into an active creator of your reality. I learned this lesson powerfully in my early 30s. I was running a small manufacturing business, and a new piece of technology came onto the market. It was revolutionary. It would have cut my production time in half and dramatically improved quality. But the price tag was staggering. My immediate gut reaction was, "I can't afford it." I told my partner, my foreman, my wife. I had declared it to be true, and so it was. For weeks, I felt the anxiety of being left behind by my competitors. Then, I remembered a teaching from the Musar tradition about histapkut, which is often translated as contentment, but it more accurately means making the most of what you have. It's about recognizing that you have been given precisely the resources you need to solve the problems in front of you. I realized my declaration was an abdication of my responsibility, so I changed the question. I gathered my team and said, "We cannot afford this machine with the cash we have. So how can we gain its benefits?" The energy in the room shifted instantly. We were no longer victims, we were problem solvers. One person suggested leasing it. Another proposed a joint venture with a friendly competitor. The foreman, who knew the old machines inside and out, came up with a series of ingenious modifications that mimicked some of the new machine's functions. In the end, we combined two of those ideas. We implemented the foreman's modifications, which boosted our efficiency by 30%, and with the increased profit, we took out a small, manageable lease on the new machine 6 months later. The solution was there all along, but it was hidden behind the wall of my own negative declaration. This is the practical work. The next time you are faced with a desire or an opportunity that seems beyond your financial reach, catch yourself before you say, "I can't afford it." Instead, open a notebook and start a brainstorming session with yourself. Write the question at the top. How can I create this? List every possibility, no matter how outlandish. Can you trade a skill? Can you create a new stream of income? Can you partner with others? Can you find a more creative way to achieve the same end result? You will be astonished at what your mind will produce when you give it a problem to solve, instead of a wall to stare at. Is your language building walls, or is it opening doors? Are you a passive observer of your financial life, or an active participant in its creation? The fourth phrase is a fortress of fear, a self-imposed prison. That's impossible. When we declare something impossible, we are making a judgment about the very nature of reality. We are placing our own limited understanding above the infinite potential of the universe and the creative spark within us. This is a profound act of spiritual arrogance. Our tradition is a testament to the fact that the human definition of possible is constantly being rewritten. It is a story of overcoming odds that any rational observer would have deemed impossible. Think of the Exodus, an entire nation of slaves, demoralized and broken, walking out of the most powerful empire on earth. Impossible. Think of David, a young shepherd with a sling, facing Goliath, a giant warrior clad in bronze. Impossible. Think of the Maccabees, a small band of rebels, reclaiming the Holy Temple from a mighty Hellenistic army. Impossible. History, both sacred and secular, is the story of the impossible becoming reality through faith, wisdom, and courageous action. The Hebrew word for wisdom, chakma, is not just about intellect. It is about the ability to see the world from a higher perspective, to see the hidden connections and the divine potential that lies dormant in every situation. To say something is impossible is to admit a failure of vision, not a fact of reality. This is an insight that goes beyond mere positive thinking. It is about understanding the partnership between human effort and divine providence. The sages teach that we must act as if everything depends on us. while praying and trusting as if everything depends on God. This is the sacred paradox. When we declare something impossible, we sever that partnership. We are telling God, in essence, my role in this ends here. My judgment is final. But when we approach a monumental challenge with the attitude of with divine help, let's see what is possible, we invite miracles. We open a channel for solutions and synchronicities that our limited logic could never have conceived. I recall a moment in my own career when my partners and I were on the verge of bankruptcy. A sudden market shift had rendered our primary product obsolete. We owed money to suppliers, to the bank, to our employees. Every advisor we consulted told us the same thing. It's impossible to recover. Liquidate what you can and declare bankruptcy. The word impossible hung in the air like a death sentence. We were exhausted and ready to give up. That Friday night, I went to synagogue, my heart heavy. The rabbi spoke about the nature of creation, how God created the world ex nihilo, something from nothing. And it struck me, if the very fabric of existence can be created from nothing, who am I to say that a solution for my small business cannot be found? That weekend, instead of meeting with lawyers, I met with my partners with one new rule. The word impossible was forbidden. Our goal was not to save the old business, but to ask, what is the possible that can be born from this ending? We stopped looking at our liabilities and started looking at our assets, a skilled workforce, a loyal customer base, a factory full of equipment. By reframing the question, we realized we could retool our factory to create a completely different product for a new, emerging market. It was a long, difficult road, but we did it. We created something new from the ashes of the old. What everyone called impossible became the foundation of our greatest success. So, here is your practice. The next time you face a challenge that seems insurmountable, I want you to perform a small act of faith. Take a piece of paper and write down the impossible goal. Then, underneath it, write, my task is not to determine if it is possible, but to take the next wise step. Then, identify just one, single, small action you can take. Make one phone call. Send one email. Read one chapter of a book. The goal is not to solve the whole problem at once, but to simply engage in the partnership with the divine, to show up for your role and trust that a path will be made clear. Are you allowing your perception of possibility to be defined by your past, or by your faith in an infinite future? The final phrase we must eradicate from our vocabulary is the subtle abdication of responsibility. Disguised as fate, I'm so unlucky. When we attribute our circumstances to luck, whether good or bad, we are embracing a pagan worldview. We are imagining ourselves as helpless corks bobbing on an ocean of random chance. We are, in effect, bowing down to the stars, to the impersonal forces of Mazal. The word Mazal in Hebrew literally means a constellation, and the idea is that one's destiny is fixed by the astronomical alignments at the moment of birth. But the foundational principle of Jewish thought is a radical departure from this. Abraham, our father, was told to go out from his father's house, to leave behind the astrology and fatalism of his time. The Talmud famously declares, Ein Mazal Yisrael, Israel is not subject to astrological fate. What is the alternative? It is the concept of Hashgacha Pratit, divine providence. This is the belief that a purposeful, loving Creator is intimately involved in the details of our lives. It does not mean that life will be easy or that hardship will not come. It means that nothing is truly random. Every event, every encounter, every challenge is a tailor-made message, an opportunity for growth, a part of a much larger, divine plan that is ultimately for our good. When you say, I'm unlucky, you are blind to this reality. You are interpreting a difficult event as a meaningless accident. But when you ask, what is this situation here to teach me? You begin to see the hand of providence. You shift from being a victim of fate to a student of God. I learned this profoundly during the market crash of 2008. I lost nearly half of my net worth in a matter of months. My first reaction was, how could I be so unlucky? What terrible timing. I was filled with bitterness and a sense of cosmic injustice. I saw myself as a victim of chaotic market forces beyond my control. This mindset was paralyzing. It led to fear, inaction, and more losses. It was only after weeks of this spiritual misery that I forced myself to sit quietly and reframe the question, I stopped asking, "Why me?" and started asking, "What is the purpose of this for me?" With this new lens, I began to see things differently. I saw that my portfolio had become bloated, diversified into areas I didn't truly understand. I saw that my attachment to the number on the screen had become a form of idolatry, replacing my trust in God. I saw that the crisis was a divine fire, burning away the dross and forcing me to return to the fundamentals of value, integrity, and long-term vision. The unlucky event became the greatest blessing of my financial life. It was a painful but necessary course correction. I sold off the speculative assets, consolidated into businesses I believed in, and rebuilt my wealth on a foundation that was not just stronger financially, but spiritually. Your practical work is to become a student of your own life. I want you to start a Providence journal. At the end of each day, write down one event that happened that, at first glance, seemed negative or unlucky. It could be a missed appointment, a difficult conversation, a financial setback. Then, sit and reflect on it. Ask yourself, what could be the lesson here? What strength is this challenge asking me to develop? What new door might this be opening? Do not look for easy answers. The purpose is to train your mind to see the guiding hand of Hashgacha Pradit, instead of the blind chaos of Mazal. Over time, you will cease to believe in luck, because you will see the unmistakable pattern of purpose, woven through every thread of your existence. Are you a pawn in a game of cosmic chance, or are you a beloved student in the divine classroom of life? We have walked together through 5 phrases, 5 gates of scarcity that we must learn to keep closed. I'm broke, life is meaningless, I can't afford it, that's impossible, and I'm unlucky. Eradicating them from your speech is not a simple trick of positive thinking. It is a profound spiritual discipline. King Solomon's immense wealth, his gold and his palaces, were not the source of his wisdom. They were the result of it. His true abundance flowed from an inner state of alignment, a mastery of the self that began, always, with the mastery of the tongue. This is a truth woven throughout Jewish practice. Why do we begin our day with the Moda Any prayer, offering thanks even before we are fully conscious? To set the tone of gratitude. Why do we recite blessings, break it, before we eat, drink, or experience something new? To transform a mundane act into a conscious encounter with the divine source of all things. These are not empty rituals. They are technologies for rewiring our consciousness, for training ourselves to speak the language of abundance, meaning, possibility, and providence. Your words create your world. Choose them as carefully as a master builder chooses his cornerstones. So, I want to leave you with a simple, practical challenge for the week ahead. Do not try to change everything at once. That is the path to overwhelm and failure. Instead, choose just one of the 5 phrases we discussed today. Which one resonated most deeply with you? Which one do you hear yourself saying most often? Choose that one phrase to be your focus for the next 7 days. Write it down on a small card and put it where you will see it. In your wallet, on your bathroom mirror, on your computer screen, and next to it, write the powerful, life-giving alternative we discussed. When you catch yourself about to speak the old phrase of lack, pause, take a breath, and consciously, intentionally, speak the new language of possibility instead. Notice how it feels in your body. Notice the shift in your energy. Notice how the world around you begins to respond in new ways. This is not magic, it is the law of spiritual physics. You are aligning yourself with the creative force of the universe, and the universe will always respond to a clear and consistent signal. King Solomon's wisdom teaches us that the greatest temple we will ever build is the one within ourselves, and its foundation is laid, stone by stone, with the words we choose to speak. Let your speech be your sanctuary. Let it be a source of life not only for you, but for all who have the privilege of hearing it. I am deeply curious, which of these 5 phrases hit home for you the most? Which one will you choose for your 7-day challenge? Please share it in the comments below. Let us create a community here, a kahila of wise speech, supporting one another as we learn to speak a new reality into being.